Good morning, Wilo Gamer Pro. How are you doing? Good morning, sir. Good morning, Stefan. How are y'all? Stefan, thank you for being a member. Appreciate you. Good to see you guys. We can barely see you. Yeah, now you can see me. I keep forgetting that I have it on the office cam at times. You're sick as fuck? What? Like stomach flu? What kind of flu? What kind of sickness you got? That sucks, man. Being sick sucks. Sucks. So bad. Basically, nothing else matters when you're sick. I forgot to. Let's see. I forgot to make an event in Discord last night, so we gotta do that real quick. Like high temp. Oh, stomach flu. Okay, fever's doable, but stomach flu sucks. I'll take just about any other illness over the stomach flu. There's no getting comfortable with that. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That really sucks. It is the worst. And I don't have any good tips to share with you either, you know? Like, I don't have any good, like, hey, drink this to make yourself feel better. I mean, there's nothing really you can do with stomach flu, you know? It's just kind of, you gotta let it pass. Literally. Alright, Discord events created. I actually think we need to update our members list, too. So let's do that really quick. Let's see, we need to go to, nope, or we need to go to member, monitor. We need to open the members JSON. Yeah, we lost a member. We lost a member, oh god. Okay. We have to go members, detail. So annoying. Good morning, 199. How are you? 39.8C. What's 39.8C? What is that in Fahrenheit? I'm an American, remember? Yeah, see you in a bit. 199. You do you, man. We'll be here. We'll be here. I'm busy watching ads because I haven't updated my membership yet. No worries, dude. No worries. Thank you for watching the ads, though. Oh, dude, I just closed out my music. Gosh dang it. That was a good song too. Congrats on 7K, by the way. Oh, thanks, Stefan. I appreciate that. Remember when you were hitting 1K and you still didn't make a live special for it? Yeah, I haven't done any live specials for any of my membership or my subscriber milestones. I've really fallen down on that. Okay, I think all the housekeeping's done for the day. We have a Discord event, we have a pinned message, we updated the members list. We have our coffee. Or actually, we don't have our coffee yet, but we do have a shot of espresso. I think we're ready to settle in here. I always watch them till the end, make them big dogs pay. Bring on the AdSense. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I officially last month actually made some money from YouTube. What did I think I told you guys that, right? Like AdSense paid out like, well, I had like $100 in my AdSense account from like way back, like 10 years old AdSense money that I had never reached the threshold to be paid out, and then like $100 more. So it was like $200, which isn't bad. I mean, that wouldn't buy me groceries. That wouldn't pay for a weekly grocery run for me, but it could pay for a month of coffees, you know. All right, I gotta blow my nose real quick, and then we'll take a look at Advent of Code. Yo, Filthy Potato, what's up? Look at all those green names. Thank you guys for being members. That's super appreciated. That's super, super kind of y'all. Good morning, Titano. How are you doing, sir? Good to see you again. Love that you came back. Love it. Love to see the familiar faces. Hell yeah, $200 to cover addiction. That's right. Feed the addiction. Feed that caffeine addiction. I actually want to get like a shirt that has like a caffeine molecule, like either on the left, like one of the like a chest print, or either like a larger like center printed molecule of caffeine. That and dopamine. I want like a shirt that has a giant caffeine molecule on it and a shirt that has a giant dopamine molecule on it. Good morning, Renee. Yes, I'm doing well. Yeah, no complaints, man. Just another day, you know, locking in. I had a dream. I got a D on one of my finals. Then I woke up sweating. Whew, dude. Finals are the worst. I'm rooting for you to get through this week, dude. Finals are the worst. And why does that dream happen to everybody? Right? I don't know if it's not necessarily the failing the finals dream, but the dream that I feel like so many people always have is the dream where you wake up thinking you haven't gone to class all semester and you've now realized that you haven't gone to class all semester. That's the dream that always used to get me. Filthy potato. Oh, I'm done. Nice. Let's go. So do you begin your trip to Washington? No. You begin your road trip. Are you flying or are you driving? Titano doing good. Good to hear, man. Good to hear. Well, I guess we should. So Pablo told me yesterday that Advent of Code today should only take us like 5 minutes. However, I think sometimes Pablo underestimates my abilities as a developer. and as a programmer. So we'll see if we actually, not underestimates, overestimates, sorry. He overestimates my ability. So we'll see if the 5-minute estimate really holds true. Okay, so let's update AOC day 5. We'll pull that again just so that we get the latest. Bad request. Your session cookie may be in. Oh, dang it. I gotta log in again. Oh, no, it's actually probably invalid because we logged in again yesterday, isn't it? So we got to do Notepad, admin of code. And we gotta get the cookie. There we go. Alright, let's try that again. Yo, I'm a command bar. Yo, I'm a Steven. Nice to meet you, command bar. There we go. Sorry, that's like a really rude thing to say. What? What do you mean? What did I say? Pretty easy. The OS Linux one was stupid easy. Well, that's good. I'm glad your finals are relatively straightforward. Okay. Let's see what today's problem's all about. Hopefully it is. And a lot of people yesterday were complaining about day 9 part 2 apparently was really difficult. There was a bunch of people complaining about that. Okay. Disable Copilot. Silencio. Command bar. Can you teach me how to program in PowerShell? Probably not. I can do very basic scripts and very basic commands in PowerShell, but I wouldn't say I know PowerShell the way I would say I know TypeScript or I know C#. I know enough to get around in my shell. I know enough to do some basic functions for my profile and whatnot, but I've never really written anything super substantial in PowerShell. So I wouldn't dare try to be a teacher. And it's honestly, I wouldn't dare try to be a teacher in most of these things. I'm not super interested in being a teacher per se. I'm fine with showing or telling the things I know and the things I've learned, but I'm not really looking to be an educator. There's some channels here on YouTube like Web Dev Simplified. There's a few different channels here on YouTube. Nick Chopsis. There's a few different channels. Tim Corey. There's a few different channels. Why do I keep saying that? That are more educator type creators, and I don't have a terribly big interest in doing that. So I don't see myself making very many long extended courses on how to do XYZ thing. I might make a video on how I did XYZ thing, but I'm not terribly interested in making that type of content. Renee, don't nobody care how easy nor how difficult it was. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do nothing. Look, you are my son, and I will always love you. What? 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 Renee, are you calling people your son? I don't understand. As long as you get them papers. No, as long as you get them grades. That's the key, right? You gotta get the grades. Filthy potato. I thought the stream died and music went away. Nope. We're here. We're here. Renee, if NeetCode is the bar, we can all teach online. Yeah, I guess there's a difference between when you're teaching in because you want to be perceived as a teacher and just kind of sharing what you know. Right? I mean, it's like a different thing, when you're trying to be a teacher versus not trying. The lady I shared this lady's profile with you, or this girl's profile with you guys the other day. The person that I've really enjoyed content from lately is on TikTok. Her name's Terabyte is her handle. Oh, I think I just saw it. Tara. Yeah. She's got some really good. She used to be a teacher, or based on what she said, she used to be a teacher at like a pretty large university. Good at teaching programming, or I guess CS probably is a better way to. And I love it. I love that there's people out there that are exceptionally good at explaining things like that, but not terribly interested in. Like I'd much rather, for example, I'd much rather build like a micro SaaS that actually is a product than be somebody who builds courses and sells them to other people about how to learn programming or do coding. I'm just not interested in having that type of a brand or a following. It's just. All right, we should probably try to see what day 5 part 2 is all about. 200 bones is 200 bones? Yeah, for sure. I think Filthy Potato, I think you might be behind. Yeah, 200 bones is 200 bones, for sure. Stefan, I'm gonna be so behind. You mean so behind on admin and code? Bro, the worst thing is I have to skip 2 wrestling practices because I'm sick. Oh, you're gonna be behind on wrestling? No, you'll be fine, man. You'll catch up. You'll be good. There's nothing you can do. When you're sick, you're sick. Command bar. I'm only 13, but I know how to program. Well, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, you're way ahead of the curve. I didn't learn how to program till I was probably 28, 27, something like that. So you're way ahead of the curve. Oh, you left to get coffee, Steph, and I respect that. That's the only valid reason to leave the stream, just to get coffee. Good morning, Keyshawn. Good to see you, man. It's been a minute. Hope you're doing well. Renee, nah, I was quoting Rocky, man. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, that is from Rocky. That's the scene where he's like, Renee, that's the scene where Rocky's like, he tells him, like, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. I love that. I have that actually pinned as a clip in my TikTok bookmarks. I like to save off all kinds of like stupid. I mean, it's not stupid, but anything I kind of find like motivational, I save it off, and I have a clip of that particular speech. I love that speech so much. So good. This.dev. I want to thank you for your content. It's such a huge opposite to creators such as Coding Jesus, where one has to be able to answer difficult questions on the spot, and if you can't do that, you're crap. Well, Yeah, well, I guess I fall into that. I fall into the your crap territory because I don't meet the bar for those types of creators, and that's okay. That's okay. But thank you very much for sharing how much you appreciate it. They lack the fun in coding where you're not dissing people and just being a good influence. Yeah, I mean, why? Yeah, why participate? Like, why show up that way? It's just not fun. It's not interesting. Um, and it's just not the way you should treat others. You know? Yeah, I want to kind of at least want to show up. I at least want to show up as somebody that my kids can be semi proud of. You know? I don't want to be an asshole or a douchebag. Filthy potato. My phone put your stream halfway through. Oh, no worries, no worries. I just based on your comments, I thought, okay, he might be behind. Renee, a lot of people who are really well skilled think teaching is knowledge bound. Teaching is a skill. If you can't teach, just having the knowledge ain't gonna help you. That's we've talked about that before too, chat. Like it is teaching is a skill, right? You it's 100%. It's not knowledge bound at all. Couldn't agree more with you, Renee. Brian on the water. Hello, Brian. This is the first time I think I've seen you in the chat. My neighbor is a senior dev in AI robotics. We've started working on some cool projects on my farm. What would be the best pipeline for me learning to code to help our workflow? Learning Python? I guess it depends on what you guys are doing with or how you guys, I guess, are controlling the robots. I'm assuming Python is the programming language of choice. First of all, sounds like a really interesting project. You guys should make a YouTube video or YouTube videos about that stuff. You should start a channel called Robots on the Farm or something like that. And I bet you could get a ton of people to tune in and watch your guys' progress. If you do want to learn Python, I point everyone at this course called Python for Everybody. It's taught by a guy named Dr. Chuck. He's a professor at the University of Michigan, and he has a very down to earth and very approachable style to the way he teaches Python. This is how I learned Python. I actually took this course through Free Code Camp. It's available in a lot of places. He kind of lists them out here, but this is probably where I would start if you're learning to code and specifically want to learn to code Python. That's probably where I would send you. Let's see, Arna. How do you get so much time to check Advent for code? Anyways, great content, very positive. Well, thank you very much. I try to stay positive. Sometimes I crash out and get upset and turn into grumpy dad, but for the most part, it's fairly positive. As far as how do I get so much time to check admin of code? Well, I just get up really early. I mean, there's no secret sauce there. It's 4:30 a.m. My time, and I've been live for 23 minutes. So I just get up super early and feet hit the floor. I brush my teeth, brush my hair, pull a shot of espresso, get down to the basement, and set up and go. You know. This.dev. That's why I'm in this feed and not theirs. Well, I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate you being here. And you know what? The internet's big, so the internet's big enough for a place of all different types of people, and people that fuck with my stuff can come hang out over here, and people that fuck with Coding Jesus can go hang out over there, and we can all have a good time. Good morning, Rampla. Random question. What would happen if you drag and drop a line of code from a project into a new project? Would it work or not? I think it probably depends on what line of code you grab. If you just grab like a print statement or something from one line and put it from one project and put it in another, it'll probably be fine. If you grab an entire function, probably less likely. If you pull in the whole file, probably even more less likely. So probably small chunk of code, probably fine. A single statement or a single expression, but the minute you start moving large pieces of code, it's probably questionable if it works. Python is the de facto in robotics at uni. The ecosystem is insane. Well, there you go. Python for everybody. Start there. Brian on the water. Thanks. Just found your channel. Big fan. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. I would be a big I would I would be a big fan of your channel though if you guys started making videos about how you're using robots on the farm. That sounds like a hell of a project. Much cooler than anything I'm working on. Busy Slim, don't install VS 2026. Update it, totally breaks class diagrams. Now try to revert. We are due more regular updates, more experimental shit. Well, I have it installed and I've been using it at work exclusively. I've only been using, well, I've been using the Insiders distribution, but that is 2026, and I've been using that for our solution at work and have had really good luck. So I'm sorry to hear it's been fucking you up. That really sucks. Yeah, I haven't had any issues like that, but I've seen people on tech Twitter that have shared similar challenges with updating or installing 2026. All right, let's find out what problem 2 is. Okay, the elves start bringing their spoiled inventory to the trash chute at the back of the kitchen so that they can stop bugging you when they get new inventory. Wonderful. Well, yeah, wonderful. The elves would like to know all of the IDs that the fresh ID ranges consider to be fresh. Hold on, what? Would like to know all the IDs. Oh, no, that's the same question. An ingredient ID is still considered fresh if it is in any range. Now, the second section of the database is irrelevant. Here are the fresh ingredient ID ranges from the above example. Felipe, thanks for subbing, man. Appreciate you. Super kind. The ingredient IDs that these ranges consider to be fresh are 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, so on. In this example, the fresh ingredient ranges consider a total of 14 ingredient IDs to be fresh. Process the database file again. How many ingredient IDs are considered to be fresh according to the ingredient ID ranges? Okay, so basically all the problem did was now we are just figuring out how many IDs are in each range and then totaling those. Which means our solution from part 1 actually gets us pretty far. We only have to change like one thing, I think. So let's just copy paste. Well, first off, let's update our test because we know the expected should be 14 now. And let's switch over to this and we'll say go test run test solve part 2 with example input. This is going to be wrong, obviously. Expected 14 but got 0. So now we just need to implement it. I think our solution does this. So now what we need to do is we don't care about the IDs. We don't care about that. We don't even care about this. So basically we can say whenever we reach this, we can just break. Whenever we reach the new line, we just break. Then we can get rid of that. We still want to sort them. We still want to merge them. Still want to do all that. And then down here, what we're going to do, instead of going over each ID, we're just going to loop over the ranges. Oops. And the only thing we're going to do with each range is we're just going to do a delta between the ranges. So if we go back here, we just do 5 minus 3, right? 5 minus 3 plus 1. 3, 4, 5. And then we do 10. So then the merge range is 10 to 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I think this will work. See, awesome. We are doing some cool stuff for small farmers. I run Chapin Road Farm, a nonprofit for the MS community. We're building things like retro mod kit for ride-on mowers to operate autonomously. Brian, that is sick, dude. That is sick. That is so cool. First of all, it's so cool that you guys are serving that community. Second of all, what a cool thing to serve that community with. That is awesome, man. Good morning, Minister of Defense. It's 33 degrees heading to the beach. No way. Why are you going to the beach when it's 33 degrees? My temperatures are kind of similar, I think. I think we're at 44 degrees. Yeah, I'm at 40, or I guess 48 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is cold. Quaslin X, morning. Good to see you. First time I think I've seen you in my chat, so good to see you. Brian on the water. Yeah, man, dude, you should, yeah, that's super, super cool. What was the name of your Chapin Road Farm? Do you guys got a website? We can give you a shout out on stream. Chapin Road Farm. That is so cool, man. First of all, your farm looks beautiful. Yeah, that's really cool. Shout out Brian on the water. We appreciate all the work you're doing. Can't wait to hear about the robots too. Or the robotic autonomous mowers, actually. Can't wait to hear about those. Filthy potato. 44 degrees, like 35. Yeah, 44 degrees doesn't always feel like 44 degrees. Sometimes it feels much colder. Doing great. Hanging in there. Good to hear, Minister of Defense. I'm so heavily relying on the class diagram at the moment due to AI chat/agents. I need to visualize things. Yeah, class diagram's pretty OP. Although on a big project, it gets really messy very quickly. Of course, Brian. Yeah, thanks for hanging out in chat, man. Appreciate you being here. And hopefully Dr. Chuck will help you with your Python learnings. Okay, so I think all we have to do is that, and then we just need to add one because it's inclusive. Or I think it's, yeah, I think we need to add one, and then we'll do total plus equals diff, like that. Oh, we need to cast it in. No, I need to cast this guy. And then this needs to return an int 64. And then this needs to be an int 64 over here. And I think everyone's happy. So all we're doing is we're parsing the ranges like we did earlier. We're sorting the ranges in ascending order. We are merging the ranges together, so if there's overlapping starts and ends, we're just kind of compacting them together. And then we are now calculating how many IDs are between the start and the end. And then we add an additional one to account for the inclusivity of the range. And then we return the total. So let's see if that works. No. Expected 14 got 20. Okay. So why is that? Got 16. Okay, so we've got something going on here. Oh, we need merge, sorry. We don't want to loop over the ranges, we want the merged ranges. Like that. Which begs the question, we weren't using the merge ranges earlier. That's hilarious. So let's go test. Okay, that worked. So that worked for the example input. So now we just need to see if it works for the actual input and see how this is going. Renee, perhaps a vid about class diagrams? I mean, we could. I mean, the class diagram in Visual Studio Code is really just about being able to see how things are laid out. You know, I mean, it's just literally boxes with a list of fields on the boxes and then connections between. You know what I mean? It's like if you've ever used like Power BI or Excel's sort of data model visualization tool. It's real similar to that. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens. Moment of truth. Go test. Wow, that's a big number. What is that? That's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 digits, that's see, that's a billion, that's a million. That's larger than a trillion, isn't it? Right? That's a huge number. Whoops. Not equals 1. Plus 1. To the 14th. Holy shit. Oh, this is a ginormous number. That seems like it's bigger than the, let's see, big int JavaScript. What's the largest value it can hold? Big int. You definitely would have, if you were doing this in JavaScript, you definitely have to use big int, because int.max value JavaScript max safe integer 1, 2, or 3, 6, 3, 6, 9, 12. Oh no, I guess it would fit in that, wouldn't it? Huh. Okay. Well, let's submit it. Let's see what happens. Moment of truth. Yay, we did it. Let the dopamine flow. That would likely be an int64. I'm using an int64. Yeah, that's what I'm using in my code. I just know that's a huge number. That's all I know. I know that's more digits than most of the time I'm ever having to concern myself with. All right, we should share our success on Blue Sky. post. Let the dopamine flow. That's right, man. Minister, congrats. I appreciate that. I mean, it wasn't like terribly complicated, right? But day 4 and day 5, it was almost like Advent of Code. They sat down when they were planning the puzzles and they were like, okay, day 1, day 2, and day 3, we're just gonna hammer them. We're gonna grind them into the ground. Then day 4, we'll let them up and we'll let them breathe a little bit. Because day 4 and day 5 were by far the most straightforward days that have been in here. Alright, go test. Let's test everything. We're gonna test it all. It all passes, looky there. Fantastic. So we'll do git add, git commit, solve day 5, part do. Git push that. Oh, I guess I should have done a separate branch, huh? That's alright. That's alright. It's just, this is just for play, so it's fine. It's fine. Cool. Oh, we also need to update the README. Remove the cache test with negative count equals 1 just to make sure. Anyone ever tell you that you definitely look like a Steve? I think naming you anything else would be a category error. That's hilarious. I've never heard, no one's ever told me that, but that's funny. It's actually funny. No one calls me Steve besides my brother and my high school friends. Almost everyone else in my life always just calls me Steven. But at least I'm glad to know I look like my name, or my name sounds like me. My name sounds like I look, or yeah, I don't know. One of those two. I feel like I'm being led into a trap with how straightforward today was. Wonderful. Good morning, Agent 818. How are you? Good to see you again. Appreciate you stopping back by, saying hello. I'm doing wonderful. Yeah, I'm doing good today. I'm always doing good. I mean, the thing is, I'm gonna always say this. I'm gonna sound like a broken record for as long as you hang out my stream, but I'm healthy. My kids are healthy. My wife's healthy. It's all kind of icing on the cake after that, you know? I know so many people that they can't say that. You know, they can't say that. And so the fact that I can say those things means that regardless of whether if the events of today are good or bad, there's just not a whole lot to be upset or frustrated about, you know? So yeah, I'm doing really well. Oh, a Minister of Defense said to try to remove the cache test. So how do I do that? Is it like go clean? There you go. And we can go test again. Heck yeah, they all pass. They're all pretty fast too. All my solutions are pretty fast. None of them take more than a second to test. So that's good. This one day 2 gets pretty close to a second. Wayne Rigby's younger brother? Who is that? Renee? A fictional character on CBS? He's from the Mentalist show. Is that who you're talking about? I've never heard of that person before. That's the right mindset, to be honest. Yeah, it really is. Gratitude and perspective, man. Perspective leads to having gratitude, and gratitude leads to not letting shit bother you. You don't let, I mean, my dad's mom, my grandma Freeborn, passed away yesterday. We weren't particularly close over the years, but when I was young, she was a big force in our life growing up. And she used to always say, don't sweat the small stuff. And the secret is it's all small stuff. And that's 100% the truth. It's 100% the truth. So if you have your health and you have if you have your health, I mean, I get it. I understand, like, there's people that have their health and they're poor and they don't have a lot of money and life is hard, or they're born in really bad parts of the world where shit's all fucked up. That I totally understand. But from my chair, from where I sit in the world, yeah, being grateful, having perspective and then being grateful leads to you just not getting hung up or, twisted up about stuff that really doesn't matter, Renee, I want to try the MS Learn MCP server 2 with the new Visual Studio. I have not tried many MCPs. I think Visual Studio right now, when you fire it up by default, I think it has the GitHub MCP and maybe the Azure MCP. There's a couple MCPs that are just wired up by default, it looks like. But I've not done too much with it. Rest in peace. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. I mean, we weren't super close. My sister was way closer to her in like our adult years, like my sister would go and visit her, and I hadn't seen her in, I don't know, 9 years. I mean, I think the last time I saw her, my oldest son was like a year or 2 years. So it's been a while. We weren't particularly close, but growing up, she was definitely a force in our life. And, yeah, that's a saying that I remember her saying all the time, and it stuck with me. Actually, when my brother got married, I put that in my best man speech because I think it's so true, right? It's just so true. So many things that we all get so worked up about just don't really matter. Thanks, Renee. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was yesterday. Thunder Deer. I got my day 2 down to 0.001. Wow, that is fast. What did you do? What did you do to do that? That's crazy. Amen, brother. Yeah, amen indeed. I made it way more complicated than necessary, to be honest. But isn't that the whole thing, right? That is the whole thing. Like, oftentimes performance requires complexity, right? There's like this trade-off there, right? Well, a lot of time performant code isn't the easiest to understand or read. The MS Learn 1 apparently integrates with the latest Microsoft Learn Docs pretty well with Copilot. Very cool, yeah. I think having additional context for the LLM is super helpful for getting better results out of it, especially when it comes to asking questions, right? I only care about important things in life. A Rust dev blocked in on LinkedIn. Who gets blocked in LinkedIn? Existential crisis? I don't know who gets blocked on LinkedIn. But, people get blocked everywhere. Alright. I think now that we did admin of code, we're going to switch over and we're going to do a little bit of project work. Because we're only doing one part a day. So lucky for us, today's part of Advent of Code was pretty minimal. I think we're going to switch over and we're going to work on this project. Grounds for support, which is basically, it's like a buy me a coffee site, but my own personal version of it. And the main reason for this is to learn how Stripe works. So I think that's what we're going to switch over and do. But I think before we switch over to it, we should make our cup of coffee for the day, or at least our Advent of Code, or Advent of Coffee, cup of coffee for the day, and then we'll start working on this. So let me quit out all of this stuff. Fafnir, I think is how you say your name. Fafnir, thank you for subscribing. Assad, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you guys. If I ever screw up your names too, just know that I do care that I say it right. It's just sometimes I don't say it right, and I don't know that I'm not saying it right, so I do apologize if I ever just severely butcher your name. It's not malicious at all. It's just from a place of arrogance or ignorance, which I don't know if that's any better, but it's honest. I calculated the distance from the current number to the next number that satisfied the condition, so it skips in large chunks. Ah, nice. Yeah, what a great optimization, right? Don't do the work if you don't need to. That's a wonderful... that's where a lot of big optimization wins happens, or big performance wins, right? If you can figure out work that you don't need to do and then not do that work, that's a big performance win. Do you code in C# using NeoVim? Just curious. I do. Yeah, I do. That's actually, we'll do that right now. The only thing I usually don't do in the .NET space in NeoVim is Blazor related things. My NeoVim configuration for C# doesn't support Razor syntax, so I usually always have to default back to VS Code for that. But for this, we can most definitely get away with using NeoVim. So that's what we will do. I think today we're going to start with, let's see, Fizzy. I've been using this new tool that 37 Signals released because I just wanted to. Let's see, this one is actually done, really. No, it's not done. This one we're actually doing. We are currently setting up the project. And I think today what we're going to try to do is, let's get it to, let's see, Git write, GitHub Actions PR workflow, right, GH Actions deploy workflow, setup, subdomain in Cloudflare, configure Nginx on web server. So I think that's what we'll try to do today. At the very least. At the very least. Rust is fine, but some of its users can be hard to deal with. You're not allowed to criticize Rust or the minions will swarm you. I mean, I've criticized Rust, so I'm happy. Bring it on, minions. I will happily grapple with some Rust minions. I think Rust is fine. I don't have a ton of experience writing it, but whenever I see Rust syntax, I always think it looks kind of hard to read in Grok, but maybe that could be a skill issue on my part. Ignorance is a subset of arrogance, therefore it is indeed better. Okay. Well, I just wish sometimes I could know how people's names are pronounced so I didn't say them wrong, because I do care. I mean, I've got a weirdly spelled name, and so I've had people mispronounce my name for a large portion of my life. And so I do care, but it's hard over the internet. Does anyone use regular Visual Studio anymore? Is that popular in the .NET world? When I was doing some game dev in C++ a few years ago, it was amazing. So I use Visual Studio, but I only really use it mainly for work-related stuff. I think people who are in very large projects probably use Visual Studio quite a bit. I think Visual Studio from like a profiling perspective, a debug perspective, threading debug perspective, you can't really beat it, right? So if you're working on a very big complex solution, you're probably using Visual Studio. And if you have any type of .NET framework projects in that solution, you're probably using Visual Studio, if I had to guess. But I feel like if you're in more modern .NET, more modern C# era, then you're probably, or if you're coming to C# new today, I would guess that vast majority of people's entrance point is Visual Studio Code with the C# Dev Kit and the .NET CLI, if I had to guess. So I would say, like, if you partition the .NET ecosystem by age or length of time in the ecosystem, I think you would find that older, more experienced C# developers are using Visual Studio, and younger, newer C# developers are using Visual Studio Code and the CLI. If I had to make a prediction, I have no data to back that up. That's purely based on vibes. That would be my guess, though. It's still a great tool. Visual Studio, though, is still a great tool. It just, for me, the reason why I don't use it a ton is it just feels too heavy a lot for the things I'm doing. You know, I'm just not building very complex solutions like that where I feel like I have the need for it. Thunderdeer. Rust seems to be great for LLMs because you have to be very specific in what you want to do or it won't compile. Also, it has good compiler messages. So I haven't written much Rust, right? So I don't have much experience with it. But yeah, it seems like if Rust has good compiler error messages, that would help the LLM figure out what it's done wrong, and it should be able to fix it. I think the problem with Rust is there's just not a ton of Rust code. Like if you said, well, how many lines of Rust code are in the world versus how many lines, of Python or JavaScript in the world, it's really not even a competition. So it would make sense to me that the LLMs naturally have a better knowledge and understanding of Python and JavaScript than they do of Rust. I'm sure you could overcome that with like good context engineering and maybe some fine tuning if you really, really, really cared about it. Always had issues running C# and VS Code. Try again now. The C# Dev Kit's great. It's really good. The C# Dev Kit is really, really good. Busy Slim, I'm showing my age. Dude, I bet you're not that old. That's the misconception. You can still have logic errors. Issue with Rust is it can give you a false sense of safety. That's interesting. I think any compiled language, though, does that. Don't you think, Minister of Defense? Like, I even hear business people talking about how... I was actually specifically listening to this podcast called the All In Podcast, and there was some people, the guys, the hosts on the show, they were talking about how LLMs have the ability to, or agents have the ability to compile the code that it's written to check it for validness or to check to make sure it works. And there is a misconception that, well, just because code compiles, that it's correct, right? And those aren't the same thing. We all know that. We probably have all written code where it compiles and it runs fine until you give it the right set of inputs, and then it all blows up on you because you miswrote the logic or you didn't account for an edge case. There's all those things. Like, does catching compile time errors help a lot? Yes, but it's not everything. It's not everything. Yeah, the LLM might not understand what you want to do. Exactly. Exactly. All right, coffee time, and then we'll dive into this. We'll see what we can get done in the next hour and 45 minutes. We have a pretty big good chunk of time on stream today to spend on our project, so we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna make sure the coffee thing is set up first, um, and then I'll bring you guys with me. So Control Shift. We haven't actually used this in a minute. Duplicate. Split plant pane up. BRB. Okay. One sec. I'll be right back. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. To the coffee station.
Sorry, it took me a little longer to get things situated than I expected. I gotta get my chat pulled up here real quick. There we go. Hey Arvin, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. All right, water's brewing. Oh. Let's see. There we go. Oh, I'm catching up on chat really quick. Here we go. Zarvium. Yeah, my setup on Windows is very basic, nothing fancy. I did make the ASCII art myself. That I did myself. It's just it's not using anything special, no Spectre console or anything like that. It just prints text to the screen. Yeah, my NeoVim configurations are there. Oh, my Posh is right there. Oh, and my PowerShell config is here too. Okay. It was easier to catch up on chat from the desk. All right, today's coffee is from Guatemala, which is right next door to where my family's from. My family's actually from Honduras. I am a quarter Honduran. Sounds like to the coffee. It does sound like Power Rangers. To the coffee station. I figured somebody else out there would get a kick out of that. All right, Guatemalan coffee. I think yesterday was what, Ethiopian? No, yesterday was, I don't remember what yesterday was. Yesterday was El Salvador coffee. So we're kind of staying in that South America, Central America neck of the woods. All right, water's done. We got to grind the coffee. Loud noises, cover your ears. Have I ever been to Honduras? I have been to Honduras. I went to Honduras for 2 months, I think, right around 8 weeks when I was 13. My grandmother, my mom's mom, is the one that was born there. She came to the United States when she was 18. But when my grandma and my grandpa were older, like when my mom and her brother were like in college, I think, they actually went back to Honduras and bought a hotel. So they had a small business in Honduras for many years, and they would go back basically once or twice a year. to just, oversee that business. And one year we took a family trip, me, my brother, my sister, my dad, and my mom, and we stayed down there for quite a long time. I was like 13 or 12 at the time. I don't remember exactly how long it was. Maybe it wasn't 2 months long, but it was a long trip. And we got to stay right across the street from the hotel because my grandma still owned like a house down there right across the street from the hotel they owned. Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. I would have loved to have been able to take my kids there to see it all. But before my grandma passed away, my mom's grandma passed away, they ended up kind of selling everything because my mom and my uncle didn't want to take it on, right? They didn't want to take on that responsibility. So, but maybe someday we'll take my family, my wife and my kids, we can take a trip there. It's just not super safe. What is Honduras? It's a country in Central America. It's just not a super safe place. The government there is very corrupt. There's a lot of gangs. It's not very tourist friendly, especially if you look like a tourist. It'd be one thing if I had more of a Hispanic look, but like my kids are obviously very American. My wife looks very American, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe things will change there. That part of the world needs some change, probably. Anyways. Thunder Deer. It's always so interesting to me how diverse Americans are. My ancestry is not at all that interesting. Well, some of us have diverse backgrounds. I mean, for the vast majority of us, probably, I would say the overwhelming majority have some sort of northern, Western European background. But there is quite a bit of diversity here. It is, compared to a country like Japan, right? Like America is very diverse. In terms of like an ethnicity, I mean. Steven, sounds like LA. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if I had to guess, I would assume that a lot of the gangs that operate in Central America probably have a presence in LA in some shape or form. Serbia is especially friendly. If you look like a tourist, you should come here. I would love to, man. The pictures of the mountains in Serbia just look absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
All right, we'll wait for that to brew. I guess I can take down the ASCII art. Although I don't remember, is it Control-Shift-W? There you go. Control-Shift-W. Only MS-13 is in LA, but it's not the same MS-13 that's in Central America, just the same name. Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that. I thought they were the same thing. Yeah, all I know is, yeah, the headlines from that area of the world just always seem very dangerous. I'm sure there are good, kind, generous folk that live there, and I can vouch for that when I visited, when I was, like I said, 20 years ago when I was there. But, when you talk about taking your children to visit someplace, right, you don't really want to take unnecessary risks. So maybe one day. I'm from Northern Europe, so it's not all that diverse. The worst part is that without the cultural exchange, we get fairly bland foods. I like it, but would love some more diversity. I mean, that's fair. I mean, most countries in the world aren't, I think, as ethnically diverse as the U.S. If I had to guess, Dimitro, I think is how you say your name. Dimitro. Thanks for subbing, man. Appreciate that. Have a good breakfast, Stefan. Thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate you. We'll probably still be live if you do come back in 20 minutes. We should still be here. How is the coffee in Central America? Did you try any? See, I'd have been like 12 or 13 at the time, so yeah, I don't have any memories of drinking coffee on that trip. But all the coffee that I have had from that area of the world has been delicious, you know. So yeah, coffee. Yeah, coffee. There's definitely a lot of coffee grown in Central America. Coffee originally, though, was in Ethiopia. That's where the coffee plant originates from, which I don't think a lot of people know. That's also why coffee that's why you typically have to find higher altitude places to grow coffee. That's because natively coffee grew in the high altitudes in Ethiopia. All right, we're gonna create a pull. I'm trying to set this project up so basically we have all the chores are out of the way. We have a way to write tests. We have a way to open pull requests and do CI/CD. We have a way to deploy when a PR is merged. So I'm trying to set all that up ahead of time rather than do it later. Because every time I wait to do stuff later for a project like that, I always regret it. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it early and we're gonna do it often. So this is going to have a name of pull requests, and Copilot's not going to be very helpful. And we're going to do on workflow dispatch. I always use workflow dispatch just so I can troubleshoot things if I need to. Or on pull request. And specifically when we're looking at branch main, and then we're going to define our jobs. Do you drink your coffee black? I do. Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to putting sugar or creamer, but I like it black. I believe in a very inclusive coffee culture. You should drink you should drink your coffee however you want to drink your coffee. I will not judge you. Let's go. Actually, speaking of coffee, let's go get our coffee.
Man, I can't believe it's already day 10. Day 10 of December, day 10 of Advent. This month is flying by. Stuff like this, like whenever you do countdowns, like for Advent, for example, whenever you count down from, a day to another day, it goes by so much faster than you think it will. And it always makes me think about this phrase that like the time is going to pass whether you like it or not. And so you might as well do something with it, right? I think that's a big driving force in my life in terms of how I plan and think about things. It's like, regardless of what happens to me or the people around me, the time is going to pass, right? Time waits for no man. And so I can do something useful and productive with that time, or I can just sit around and waste it. And ultimately, it's up to me. All right, coffee's made. To the workstation. All right. Get in here, chat. Get in here.
There you guys are. I use a pod machine. It's okay, but not great. I should look at something which gives better flavor. Yeah, Bradley, I'm not opposed. I have a Keurig, particularly for whenever we have people come and visit us. I'm not a big fan of Keurig or pod coffee makers. I'm kind of with you. I don't think the flavor is super great. I mean, I will happily take a cup of Keurig coffee over no coffee, but if I have an option, I would much rather brew, a pour over or use the Clever dripper than use a Keurig. Although there's nothing wrong with it. Some people like it. I find the flavor just kind of flat myself. Put my coffee right there. My boss is on vacation, so he wants me to be the manager while he's out. The rest of my team are really junior. I can't wait for him to come back. When your boss is gone, that's permission to slack. Unfortunately, though, not for you. You have to be the adult in the room. It sounds like. I mean, yeah, the rest of the world does coffee. I get that, but I mean, come on, Brazilian, Colombian, Central American for the good stuff. I don't know. The first 8 days of Advent, the Advent calendar that I purchased, the coffee Advent calendar. The first 8 days were almost exclusively coffees from the African continent, and they were all great. So, I think if you don't like your coffee to have a floral flavor to it, you probably aren't going to like coffees from that area of the world. So that might be a thing to consider. I applied to the Discord. There be an interview and leak code test. No, not at all. Not at all. I can approve you actually right now. Oh, there's 2 people. Cool. Yeah, you guys are in. The only reason I put the application there is to keep the riffraff out. Like, I don't want a bunch of douchebag, troll, spammy motherfuckers getting through. And I find that those guys are kind of lazy, so even if I ask them to just answer 2 questions on a forum, they usually won't do it. Good morning, Born to Shine. Good to see you, man. Thanks again for being a member. Really appreciate you. Copy Luwak coffee. Someone always brings that up. Whenever we start talking about coffee, somebody always brings up the coffee that gets digested. Cyrustic? Thanks for subbing, man. Appreciate it. Alright, so what are we going to do in our jobs? I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run our tests. So we'll do run tests. And obviously the first thing we do with any job is we have to check out the repo. So I'm going to say run tests, and then I'll say runs on... What are we going to run on? I guess we could do Ubuntu. Is it latest or LTS? Let's see. GitHub Actions Linux runner identifiers. I think I'll just target that specific version. Well, this is going to run on an ARM box. So does that matter? I think for the purposes of this workflow, it doesn't matter. But I think for the purposes of my other workflow, it is going to matter. So we're going to do Ubuntu 2024. Then our steps are going to be check out repository. And then that's going to use the actions check out at the I don't even know what the latest. Nah, cat poop coffee. Yeah, there's cat poop coffee and there's elephant poop coffee apparently, which chat enlightened me to the elephant poop coffee. I had never heard of that before. So do version 6, and then we have to actually set up. We have to set up two things. We have to set up .NET, and we also have to set up Node. So we'll do setup.net, and then we also need to do name setup.node or setup node. Is it Node.js? Is it like that? Node.js? I've never actually paid attention to that. Set up Node.js, GitHub Actions. School is breaking me down slowly. That pretty much summarizes school, Artwork Studios. I mean, it's a constant battle between it trying to grind you into the ground and you not letting it. Yeah. The places I visited in Bali were awful depressing to see those cats in 2x4 tiny cages being force-fed beans nonstop. Okay, that sounds absolutely despicable and horrible. Yeah. Count me out for participating in that. Cyrustic, what's up, man? Just sub so I could write a message. Which languages do you prefer to code in? Well, thanks for subbing so you could leave a comment. You have to be kind of dedicated to put a message into my chat because you have to subscribe and then you have to wait for 5 minutes. So kudos for you for being dedicated. My favorite languages are TypeScript and C#. I know Python, but I kind of avoid writing it. I just started learning Go. I've been writing Go for 40 days, 40 plus days or so, 40-ish days or so, and I like Go. But if you make me pick, like, what do I want to work in, I'd much prefer to work in C# and TypeScript are the two languages I really enjoy working in. Don't let school break you down. Life is the line after college. College is in the line after school. All right, I love that, Arvin. Let's encourage Artwork Studios. You got this, Artwork Studios. You got this, man. Don't let them get you down. Stay positive. You get through it. Animal cruelty is a big issue in Asia. I don't know about other continents, though. I mean, I think animal cruelty is a problem everywhere there's a human being. You know? That's just for whatever fucking reason. Our species has a subset of people that don't seem to care about the well-being of animals. Titano, TypeScript is great, but the build times, man. Well, I guess I don't have any projects that are super large and super complex, so I've never really, I guess, encountered the pain that other people have encountered with building large, complex TypeScript code bases. But don't worry, Titano. Anders Heilsberg is coming. Okay, he's rewriting the compiler in Go. He's gonna bring us the perf benefits. Don't worry. Are you dual monitoring or single wide monitoring? So I dual monitor. So I'm not terribly happy with my monitor setup. I used to have two 32-inch monitors that were curved and nice. I mean, they're not like 4K 1080p monitors, but what I ended up doing was I ended up giving those two monitors to my sons for their video game setups, and then I took their smaller 27-inch monitors. So I'm not terribly happy with these these monitors, but they do the job. They're super cheap. They're like $100 Samsung 27-inch monitors, and they do the job just fine. But that would be if I did have money to upgrade my like setup down here. Those would be on the list of things I'd like to upgrade. I'd like to upgrade my monitors, and then I'd like to get a nice chair. Crustic sounds good. I specialize in Golang and Python, specifically backend stuff, and in fintech. Ooh, fintech. I hear the pay scale is great in fintech, so that's awesome. I'm not a big Python person, but yeah, Golang seems like a lovely language. Yeah, really enjoyed learning Golang. Born to Shine. I like TypeScript, but prefer Go. Love it, love it. It's great to find a language that really clicks. How could you ever hurt a cute cat? Exactly. Yeah. I'm not a big cat guy myself. I'm allergic to them, but I have no as a human being, I have no tolerance for someone or something that is bigger, larger, and more powerful taking advantage of something that is smaller and weaker than you. I have no tolerance for it. Like it ignites a rage in me equivalent to really nothing else. Like if I see yeah, I mean I can't even express the level of rage that comes forth in me. Like the last time this happened publicly, there was a man, I was in the checkout line at a Price Chopper, and the man in front of me wanted to use some coupons to buy, I don't know, like a pack of Diet Coke or something. And there was a girl who was working the cash register, and she was telling him that his coupon was expired, and then he got super upset and started yelling at her. I was like, I think I'm gonna go to prison because I'm about ready to fucking drop this motherfucker. I can't stand it. I can't stand abusive, horrible people, and I am willing to fight to the death to protect people from that type of people. And humans being mean to animals falls in that category. Yeah. Minister of Defense. Do you also use TypeScript professionally? I do, Minister of Defense. So I write a lot of TypeScript for work. That's what we use to do our test automation at work is TypeScript. We use the Playwright Node.js SDK. I've been working in Go for 10 years. My background is mostly event-driven systems. Did a lot of device communication in the past. I hate writing business logic. Doesn't everyone hate writing business logic? Writing business logic is hard because trying to understand why the fuck the business people have the logic that they do is so confounding. Renee, brother, same here. Yeah, man. I mean, if y'all ever need help fighting a bully or taking down a bully, call me. You don't even have to explain. I'll happily take on any bully in the world. Cyrust. I'm gonna say Cyrustic, I think is how you say your names. Or maybe Cyrus? Maybe that's how I'll say Cyrus. What's your take on the increase in vibe coders? I can't stand the spaghetti code pull requests I get sometimes. Well, I don't work on anything where I really have vibe coders like bringing me stuff that I have to deal with. I think my take on the increase of vibe coders is primarily centered around the fact that there's this like very large group of people in the vibe coding space that are basically trying to say that because you can vibe code, you now no longer need real software engineers and real programmers and developers, which I think that's just wrong. That's my main issue with vibe coding. I'm totally fine if people want to use vibe coding as sort of like the next iteration of no code or low code tools, where it basically gives somebody who doesn't know how to do these things the ability to do them. That's totally fine. I don't think though that it means it devalues the skills that a lot of people have worked very long and very hard to acquire. And I think trying to make your vibe coding activity equivalent to what a professional developer or engineer does is not valid. I will say I have seen people kind of complain about what you're complaining about, which is people will vibe code features or enhancements, particularly for open source tools, and then open PRs against that feature or that bug fix with their vibe coded mess. And I guess that's becoming a really big headache for open source maintainers, which is sad because open source maintainers are already kind of by definition overworked and underpaid in the sense that like they're not paid at all most of the time. So I worry that it's going to cause people to burn out, which would be really shitty. I thought I was gonna go to prison. Yeah, I do. So externally here in my content, you guys probably don't. It doesn't come through because I do a pretty good job, I think, of staying pretty calm. But like internally, it looks much more like Ray Lewis before he gets ready to go play a football game. Internally, I have a very like high set level of intensity internally, and so there are times when my anger gets the better of me, and when I see people bullying others, that is definitely one of the times where I have this like righteous indignation of anger that rises up. But I think as a guy, you're kind of not, something's off if you're not wired a little bit that way, right? Like you, as men, we should want to be protectors, right? That's kind of one of our, I don't know, like one of our ancient roles in society that we play. We are protectors of our tribes and of our loved ones and of our people. And so when we see bullies, I feel like it calls forth like an instinctual thing to be protective, or I feel like it should. Which is my thought. Steven behind bars is something that's hard to imagine. I would never want to be behind bars. That's for sure. That would be horrible. We were watching something the other day. Can't remember what it was. And we were trying to explain the difference between jail and prison to my oldest son. And at the end of it, me and my wife were kind of like, well, you know, it doesn't really matter. Both are horrible places and you don't want to be in either. So the difference is kind of mute. Don't put yourself in a situation where you ever have to be around either of those environments. Excuse me. Renell, unleash the Rogan. Oh my goodness, that's just too fucking funny. Minister of Defense. We don't have vibe coders where I work, but my whole team heavily uses AI, and it's annoying to ask them why they did this in their code and they can't explain it to me. I'm trying to be patient. I kind of think that's unacceptable, in my opinion, Minister of Defense. I think handing someone code that you don't understand is kind of unacceptable. You know? I mean, it's one thing to be given code that you don't understand, but you to author something net new and hand it to other people and you cannot explain what the hell it does. I think I would reject that immediately. But good on you for being patient. Good morning, Butterscotch. Good to see you, dude. Hope you're doing well. I think more maintainers will move to a paid model. Seems already to be happening with many previous open source libraries. Yeah, but what's shitty is the community revolts. Whenever one of these authors says, hey, I'm going paid, or not even I'm going paid, but I'm setting up some sort of dual licensing structure, everyone just loses their mind. They call the author sellout and that they're violating some deeply held contract between the maintainers and the open source community, and I don't know, it seems really, really really toxic out there. All right, so we set up .NET, we set up Node, and then we're actually going to run our tests. So we want to do. Oh, we also need to install our coverage tool, don't we? We need to install the report generator. So let's do install report generator. And this will be a global tool. So we'll do .NET run, or no, tool, install global. That. And then we are going to actually do our actually I can copy all this, can't I? We're gonna do this. So we'll restore our project, then we'll build it, and then we'll run our tests. And then we'll do name run tests. Or maybe we'll do test solution. And then we'll do run.net test. Like so. I wonder if there's a GitHub Actions LSP for NeoVim. Do you think that's something they have? GitHub. I don't see it. It'd probably be something like GH, right? GH something or other. Yeah, I don't see it. VS Code has something like this. NeoVim, GitHub Actions, LSP. All good. Having a coffee so that I can pull off a long study session. Have my math exam tomorrow. Ooh, you're gearing up. Suit up. I've tried to use Copilot many times in my daily with no real success. Just the other day, I wanted to set up a basic Aspire dashboard for some container apps, and Copilot just had absolutely no idea. Yeah, that's that about sums up the experience. You always, the thing with all these LLM tools is you always have to, at some point, you have to revert to driving stick. And then at that point, whenever you have to revert to driving stick, you kind of ask yourself, like, why didn't I just do this from the beginning? Because now it's so much work to get up to speed with everything Copilot has done up to the point. So I feel your pain. I know the GH tool works with Go natively. Don't know if it has NeoVim on there. Yeah, it looks like there's an issue here. Let's see. There seems to be a language server for GitHub Actions. I haven't tried. Was wondering if someone has successfully used it. Would be awesome to include it as a config here. However, it seems that the project does not provide a standalone executable binary for Actions language server that can be consumed by other editors. Hold on, what does this do? GH Actions language server. So this exists. So this is a thing. Okay. So how do we set it up? Because I would really like to have this in my NeoVim configs. But I don't see it. There we go. GH Actions LS. So install this. Okay. Install that. All right, hold on. We're gonna take a brief detour here. to what else except besides edit my NeoVim configurations. So let's go to nvim config. We'll do git pull, just make sure we have whatever the latest is. And then let's edit my NeoVim config. Let's go LSP, jump to the bottom here. Here we'll say we'll copy this. We'll do gh actions. Quit, and then we need to install. We didn't actually install that. This right here. Good morning, honey. How are you? Good to see you. Kelsey said the issue is here. You're not an issue, honey. Revert back to driving stick. Beautiful analogy. Yeah, I probably stole that from somebody, but that's what it feels like. It feels like, you know, LLMs allow you to drive like an automatic transmission, but then at some point you still got to take the wheel back and start shifting gears yourself. And then at that point you're like, well, this is more work than if I had just done this myself. Yeah, that's my wife. Yeah. That's funny. All right, let's see if this thing works. Oh, I probably actually need, don't I need to probably open up new tabs because it probably modified my path when it installed that language server, that global node package. Let's see if this works. Okay, so we have our .NET test, which is great. Now what we need to do is we need to upload the results. And if I remember right, our results are going to be, whoops, that's not going to work. Our results are going to be in the test folder. They're right here, test results. So let's do copy path, or actually let's ls grounds for support test results. We need our coverage. So really, I'm going to copy the path to grounds for support test results. And then what we can do is we can come over to our thing here and we can say we want to upload coverage. Yeah, we want to upload coverage. And we're going to have a couple things we're going to upload. So we're going to have uses, action, upload, artifact, and I don't know. Is that LSP even attached? LSP info? GitHub Copilot's attached. See, GitHub Actions is attached, but I don't think it's working. let's see, this project, Forward Go and Getia design their actions to be as compatible to GitHub Actions as possible with only a few differences. I don't feel like I'm getting any IntelliSense in the buffer. I'm not going to get hung up on that though, because I want to actually, I actually want to make progress on this. I'm not going to get hung up on that. So GitHub Actions, upload, artifact. I can't wait till this thing crash and burn. I need to figure out what my consulting fee is going to be. Yeah, that we should all be doing that. We should all be registering LSCs and preparing to fix a bunch of people's mess. My favorite is, I don't even know what my code does, and that's okay. It's all about spec-driven development. Okay, if somebody said that to me, Minister of Defense, I would roll my eyes so hard, they might not ever come back and look straight ahead again. Oh, that's such bullshit. Spec-driven development. Yeah, drive the app into the ground. Dude, that's so... Ooh. I'm an old man. Ending my career as an AI janitor who charges a bunch of money to fix vibe-coded messes is a good way to go out, like the COBOL devs in 2000. I just need like 20 more years. You know, I'm 32. If I could just get 20 more years of like the need for somebody who can write code, I'll be happy. You know, but if not, no worries. It's okay. I understand. I'm perfectly prepared to change careers again. But if I could get 20 more years, that'd be great. It reminds me of that LinkedIn post I said before. Some mid-level dev was told not to use AI for a project. They did. When shit hit the fan, the senior said, "Where in the code are you fetching?" LOL, I don't know. Cursor wrote it. Yeah. I don't know about that, man. I mean, I guess everyone's entitled to live their life the way they want to live it, but I don't think I would be comfortable showing up at work that way. You know? I would just feel incompetent. Version 4 is what we want. Excuse me. And how do I upload multiple things? I need to upload multiple... Upload an entire directory. Yeah, I want to do this. And I want multiple paths. So I need to upload with name test results. And the path is going to be this, but it's going to be relative to the root. So let's delete this guy. Yeah, so we're going to do tests, go into the tests, grab the grounds for support. There we go, and grab the test results. So that's the first one we want to upload, but we also have coverage reports for the client that we also want to upload. So let's look at that. So we have Steve, you must use Cursor and AI or you'll be left behind. Being a dev who doesn't know that what their code does is career security. Bro. So, I tried Cursor. I wasn't super impressed. I'll just stick with Copilot and Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. That's plenty of an agentic editor experience. Sorry, ls source client tests. So that's my test, but I should have coverage. I think. I should have coverage from those tests. So if I go to source, the client, yeah, I don't see any. I have a coverage reporter. Am I not collecting it, maybe? Let's see. Beat test coverage. Beat test coverage. Oh, I guess I have to specify a provider. Oh, and I also have to generate it. So is this configuration wrong? No, I should be able to specify provider, and then we'll do, I kind of like Istanbul myself. And then we need to update the npm script to pass that in coverage. So now if we run .NET test, this should work. Unique UX, what's up, man? I was here a few streams ago. Dude, you've been here for a long time, or like you've been visiting my streams for a long time, so welcome, man. Thanks for being here. Good morning, Gun Highs. Good to see you. How are you doing? Uh-oh, something failed. The command npm run test exited with code 1. Okay, so why did it exit with code 1? npm run test cannot define dependency. Oh, yep, install that. Okay, now let's go back to the root of the project and do that again. Now it should work. Vibe coding causes too many issues. I'm not against AI, but with Cursor, where it does so many changes based on a prompt, you're never going to quickly try to understand the implications of that code. Exactly, which is why I think Minister of Defense said that somebody was retorting to him that it's spec-driven development. So basically what people are saying is they're saying it's okay that it's a black box as long as when you put the thing in, you get what you would expect out, it's okay that it's a black box. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, right? I don't necessarily know if I agree with the fact that people are okay with deploying systems that other people use and really not understanding how the system works. I understand that the machine learning community is okay with that because that's what these language models largely are, these black boxes of emergent behavior. But from an engineering perspective, that seems bad. That seems like a bad approach of like, yeah, we don't know what it does inside, but when we put this in there, we get what we would expect out. So I guess it's good. Yeah. Maybe that's actually one of the reasons why I don't like the experience of vibe coding, is because it does make so many changes and it adds or modifies so many files that it feels like a very big effort for me to try to read and understand what it just did versus me authoring the code, and along the way I'm building that context incrementally. Maybe that's one of the reasons I find it not enjoyable. Okay, so now we have our coverage here, and we want to upload that. So how do I upload multiple? Okay, for support it, no, that's not what I want. Unlike earlier versions of Upload Artifact, uploading to the same artifact via multiple jobs is not supported. Joshua, thanks for subbing, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for subbing. It's very kind of you. So let's go back to the pull request. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have two separate... I think we're going to have two separate uploads. So we'll say upload server coverage. And then we'll also have one that's upload the client coverage. I think is what we'll do. So we'll say this is server test coverage is the name we'll give it. And then we're going to have one that's uploading for the client. So we'll do name, upload. This will be upload client test coverage. And the path for the client test coverage is going to be copy path grounds for source grounds for support client coverage. Yeah. Copy that. And we'll put that over here on the other tab. We'll go V, select to the end, delete, paste. We just gotta flip these around. Path separators. The joy. The joy of the different path separators. That's got to be one of the most frustrating parts about developing on Windows is so many people don't develop on Windows, and so then so many people don't have to worry about the difference in the path separators. And then path separators break things, and you have to go patch NeoVim plugins to make them work. All right, so that's our test job. So we check out the repository, we set up .NET, we set up Node, we install a report generator tool, we run all of our tests by just using the .NET test command, which will run our tests for our .NET solution as well as our Vite app, and then we will upload the coverage results. So that's good. The other thing we need to do is we need to basically lint or format our code. So I think we will have some jobs here for formatting and linting the client, and then we will also have a job for formatting the .NET code. So this is going to be format. Maybe I'll call it lint and format like this. And we'll do that too. So we need to check out the repo. We need to set up Node. We need all that to be the same. Actually, all this really needs to be the same. This is going to be lint and format. We'll check out the repository, set up Node, and then we'll just have separate steps for doing the .NET formats. We'll say name, run, .NET format, and then we'll do format, lint, and format client. And this one we're actually going to need a different working directory. So I think in GitHub Actions, you can actually set the current working directory, right, for a step. GitHub Actions set current working directory. When I see the word full stack, I sigh. Hey, good morning, Sadat. I'm not sure if I'm a vibe coder. If I write 70% of my code with AI, just doing some modifications by myself. I think vibe coding is more of a term that has become a way to describe somebody who just kind of prompts their way to a solution but doesn't really understand any of the engineering or code that was done to arrive at that solution. I think that's more of what vibe coding is to me. let's be real. People who vibe code don't review the code. They just hit accept indiscriminately. 100%. They vibe code it, and then they run their app and they do like manual checks. And if it checks out, then whatever the AI put together is fine. That's 100% what's happening. I mean, you have to know the basics at least to vibe code. I don't think you do though, Unique UX. I mean, you can get pretty far by just taking a screenshot of something and sending it into one of these LLMs and asking it to give you the code to recreate it. You definitely do always reach a point again where you have to drive stick. So you do need some like understanding at that point. But to Minister of Defense's point, it still is kind of a reckless way to approach coding, or it's still kind of a reckless way to approach systems because you don't really fully understand what the AI did, right? If Cursor changes 30 files, I can tell you right now today, when a dev opens a PR with 60, 30, or 60 files changed in it, tell me, how many of you are excited to review that PR? I'm going to guess not very many. So why do y'all feel differently? I can't imagine y'all feel differently when an AI produces a 30 file or 60 file change. I guarantee nobody's reviewing that. It's like, you just, oh, it works, great, okay, slap it in there, accept, let's go. Sadat, but you might be professionally doing both things, right? I guess you could. Trusting AI too much is just like putting too much faith in pissing. I couldn't even finish that. I couldn't even finish that comment. Trusting AI too much is just like pissing too much faith in pissing in the open air. That wind can change direction and make a big mess on you. Yeah, I could see it going very poorly. And I think that's why I'm so. Do I believe that AI can be used to make you incredibly effective and productive as a very talented and educated software engineer? I believe that to my core. Do I think that vibe coding or LLMs suddenly replace the need for that well-educated and capable engineer? No. And it's the latter thing that the people who are building these tools are trying to sell. And that's what I take issue with. I think that kind of sums up my current beef with vibe coders or vibe coding in general. Renee, the other day, PDF iFilter, for example, to go install that in the correct place or something like that. AI ain't doing that. Probably not. To get the indexing of PDF content right in Explorer, yeah, that's going to need a manual solution and knowledge of Windows. I can get behind that take. Steve, check out Sharp ID. What is built with? It's hilarious. Yeah, I saw that. Nick Chopsis did a video of it too. I was gonna do a video, and then Nick Chopsis beat me to it. So I was like, well, I don't want my channel to just look like I'm always copying what Nick's making content about. But I saw Scott Hanselman tweeted about this yesterday or the day before. That's how I found it originally. Was Scott Hanselman tweeted it. So it's an IDE. Where is it? This right here, Matt Parker. He's the guy that's building it. It's a cross-platform IDE, and it actually uses the Godot editor as the base. I actually forked it. I won't lie. I forked this because I thought it might be a fun project to try to add Vim keybind support to it, because right now it doesn't have Vim keybind support. But I thought that would be a fun thing to work on stream, trying to figure out how we could make this support Vim navigation. At least, at the very least, like the HJK keys, you know. So we'll see. But it's kind of, I mean, it is kind of cool that it's a C# editor built with C#. There's a little bit of Godot in here, as I understand it. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I was looking at the code editor file the other day. I think it's this one. Yeah, this one. I think there's somewhere in here where there's like an on input or on key something. There's a handler in here somewhere that I feel like we might be able to tap in to. But yeah, it's cool that someone's like really bitten this off as a project, right? It's a big project though, especially when you start talking about making it cross-platform. Yeah, pretty cool. Nick did a good video on it though. Like I say Nick like I know him. I don't know him, but he did a good video on it. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. The new insane. This was the one. Share. Copy. Brand new C# IDE. Who dis? Yeah. So if you're interested, maybe you can go learn a little bit about it. I think it would. So the reason why I think that this project can be exciting is because right now there isn't really a cross-platform IDE. Right? Visual Studio only works on Windows. They don't have a Mac version of it anymore. They don't have a version for Linux, which is why the C# dev kit is such a big deal, because if you're wanting to build on Mac or you want to build on Linux, the best experience you can have with C# development right now is really probably Visual Studio Code with the CLI. So I could see a lot of people getting behind this project if they aren't a Windows person. But we'll see. Gunheist, using Godot makes Sharp IDE a game, so you actually game to build with C#. I like this train of thought that we've gone down. Sorry, I kind of fell behind on chat there. I feel like AI will reach its cap at some point. After all, it is made by a human and it will never be like a human being. Well, according to Ilya Sutskever, where we've kind of reached that point, according to him. I don't know how you guys feel about Ilya, but according to him, we are sort of reaching the limits of the scaling laws. Wait, there is a cross-platform ID. What about JetBrains Rider? Oh, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry, JetBrains Rider. Yep. Which I don't know. Does it work on Linux distributions? Yep, it is. Yep. Download the latest version of Rider for Windows, macOS, or Linux. So I'm wrong. There is a cross-platform IDE. It's Rider. But it's nice that there's, I guess, going to be another one. Brian on the water. Just wrote my first code in Python. Thanks so much, Steven, for the advice this morning. Of course, Brian. Yeah. And I wish you all the best of luck. You know, if I can ever be of assistance to what y'all are doing over there, or help you with your Python learnings, I'd be happy to help you. Dr. Chuck will take you very far, much further than I could take you. But if you ever need any help, you're always welcome to join our Discord. We have quite a few smart folks in our Discord, actually, that can probably even help you more with Python than I can. So don't be afraid to, don't be a stranger is what I'm saying, you know? Wow, what's with all the hate towards Sutskever, or however his name is spelled? I have no idea. I think part of it is the fact that he kind of the whole fiasco that went down a year and a half ago or whatever with the board and OpenAI and all that. So I think there's definitely like some allegiances like there is in any community. But he seems like a very smart and intelligent person. He was a student of Geoffrey Hinton's, like, so he was there at the beginning of this whole thing. He was a part of the beginning of the whole thing. So whenever he has an opinion, I don't take it for gospel, but I definitely put a lot of weight behind it. Goodhighs, no, you're not wrong. You're actually right. Sharp ID might be the first one to support every platform. So Windows, Mac OS, Linux, iOS, iPadOS, and Android. Godot builds to everything. Well, that would be pretty cool. I would love to have an IDE that runs on my iPad. That would be pretty baller to do C# development in an IDE on my iPad. Stefan, okay, turns out I can't even eat now. Half an egg, I'm full. Goddamn, that sucks, man. Yeah, wrestling practice is not going to be fun for you when it's time to go back. You're going to be weak, and you're going to have dropped weight. Yeah, that won't be fun. I feel for you, man. I feel for you. I completely got distracted. I was trying to figure out how you... let's just ask Gemini. Let's see. I'm building a GitHub Actions workflow. One of my steps in a job needs to run in a specific directory. How do I define a specific working directory for that step? I think it's just current working directory, I think. Godot has an export to switch button. That's pretty cool. I'm always suspect of cross-platform. Shouldn't we all be? So we can't put that on the individual step? Okay, so we can't put that on the actual step. So you can't... I feel like you can, though. GitHub Actions step working directory. Yeah, this is what yeah, okay. I was like, I don't think I'm crazy. Pretty sure you can do this. So we will put this down in source grounds for support .client. And then we want to run whatever's in our package JSON. So we want to do lint and then prettier. So we'll do npm run lint and npm run format, I think. I came from web development like Steve, and honestly, I wouldn't recommend that path to beginners. If I started over, I would start with Python. Really? You wouldn't recommend web development for beginners? Why is that? That surprises me. I'd love to hear. I don't. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I just like to hear like kind of like your thinking behind that. Is it just because there's so much in web development to? So if both of those fail, then we should be, or if both of those succeed, so we'll do .NET format, then we'll lint and run the client, and that's it. That's all we need to do. So we run our test, we lint and format. Is there anything else we need to do as part of the pull request process? I don't think so. I don't think so. So let's do git add. Oh, I don't have a Git repo set up yet. Okay, then the other workflow file we wanted to draft was the deploy workflow. So this deploy is going to be a containerized deployment. Wesley, thanks for subbing, man. I appreciate it. It's going to be a containerized deployment. Very similar to what we did for the links website that we did in Go. So it's going to follow the same kind of deployment path as this website has, which is basically we take the container, we build the image of our container in our CI/CD pipeline. We push that to Docker Hub, then we SSH into our server, and we'll pull the image and then run the image. That's essentially the flow we're going to have for the deployment of this. So for the most part, we can copy that workflow. Now this is going to run on an ARM box, so whenever we do the Docker image, we need to make sure this runs on that box. Let's see if I can find actually, let me just copy. I'm just going to copy the workflow from that links project, and we'll just modify it so that it uses the proper .NET things. So it'll be deploy. Oh, look, the LSP is actually working, I think. Yeah, see, like the LSP, the GitHub Actions LSP is telling us that context access might be invalid because this repo doesn't have those secrets. So that's good. So it is actually working. And I don't really care about ignoring pass right now. We can figure that out later. Although those are probably all valid things that we'd want to ignore. So I think actually I'm going to add those over here. Okay. So we need to build and push the Docker image. That's fine. We're going to log into Docker. We're going to create the version tag. Actually, let's use Gemini to help us with this a little bit. Shudo, what's up, man? Thanks for being a member, dude. Appreciate you. How you doing? Nelson Morel, hey, new to coding. When you get proficient in a programming language, does it ever get as easy as writing an essay and being in flow, or is it constantly interrupted by needing to look up stuff? Yeah, you definitely get to a point where you can get into a flow, Nelson, for sure. Especially if you're working in a project that like has all the fundamentals well established, right? Like if the architecture of the project is very clear, the technologies of the project are very clear. Yeah, you can definitely get into the flow implementing something, because 9 times out of 10, you're not having to look up a ton whenever you're working in a project like that. I feel like a lot of the looking up of stuff comes whenever you're kind of creating a project brand new and you're trying to remember how it is you run a particular command or set something up. But like the syntax, I feel like you use like the same 20% of the language's features to accomplish 80% of your work. So I think you definitely can find flow state, for sure. 100% you can. but you definitely early on when you're exploring a new problem or you're doing something novel for the first time, that's just the nature of the beast, is having to stop and look things up and figure things out. Hold on, Unique UX. I asked you a question and I didn't even read your answer. Less focused on programming, more HTML, CSS. Python is more programming related. You can get lost in just static sites, I guess. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I just feel like web development is a good place for beginners to start because it's a platform that nobody controls, and you can immediately start shipping usable code to people that they can see value in. And as a developer and a programmer, one of the most exciting things is when someone else uses the stuff you built. So I don't know. That's why I think web development's kind of a nice place to start. But I can also see what you're saying. I see your side of it. Cheetah, going well, man. What's the plan today? So we're actually in the middle of. We finished Advent of Code. Advent of Code today took us like, I don't know. It took us like 15 minutes chat, 20 minutes chat, because we basically from part 1 we already had the answer to part 2. So what we're doing now is we're getting ready to work on we are working on a project that is basically a buy me a coffee site, but for my personal brand, for me, and not using like an existing buy me a coffee platform. We're just going to build it ourselves, mainly so that I can figure out how Stripe integrations work. That's the main reason we're building the project. So what we're doing right now is we're trying to do a lot of the initial chore of like setting things up so that it makes it very easy to deploy and iterate on the site. So we're gonna, we got our project structure set up, we got our test frameworks in place. Now we're writing our CI/CD actions for GitHub, and then we need to set things up on the server so that we can basically deploy the project. To begin with, it'll do nothing, but then now we can start creating PRs, and once those PRs get merged in, everything will just work. I feel like this is the work that if you wait to do that at the end of the project, it never gets done. So if you do it at the beginning of the project, then you don't have to worry about it at the end. Oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Gunhai's programming language is just a tool. More important is methodology and knowledge of algorithms and problem solving. If someone is eager to train self in this proficiency, then programming is easy. Yeah, to me, it's the problem solving. Being able to break a problem down into smaller steps and make a hypothesis and run experiments and draw conclusions. Like, problem solving is the meta skill. Shoot, nice, man. This is the kind of busy work I admittedly always push off until I'm uncomfortably progressed through a project. I need to take your advice. Yeah, you always get to this point where you're at the end of a project. It's like, okay, now I need to add tests. Now I want to deploy it. And it's like, do I really feel like doing that now? Right? And then it never gets done. So I've taken the stance of like, I'm just going to do it at the beginning. I'm going to get like the minimal viable piece of deployable, the single minimal viable unit of deployable code that I can get. And then I'm going to set up all the stuff around that to deploy that. And then I'll start adding features and functionality. That's kind of been my approach. I need to restart my PC to clean up the VS26 mod. Man, Visual Studio 2026 did you dirty, didn't it, Renee? Nelson, appreciate all the answers. Of course, man. Yeah, we're always happy to pitch in. Chat is very chatty, so we're always happy to answer questions. Sometimes my answer is I don't know, but I'm always happy to answer. Okay, the deploy script is fine. I would like to, in the version tag, I would like to extend the version tag to include the SHA of the commit that we're currently on. So I'm going to ask Gemini to see if it can do that. Let's see. Can you update this step so that the version tag produced also includes the current git commit SHA? I think it's just like git head reverse parse and then capture that in a variable and stick it in the command, or stick it in the thing that we echo to GitHub output. But you know, I'm supposed to be learning how to use AI, right? Because if I don't know how to use AI, I won't be viable as a developer. I can't help but be a smartass sometimes. Yeah, that's easy enough. I figured it was going to do something like git reverse parse. I have a very simple versioning scheme for my Docker deployments. Let's see what do this. Jump to the end. Paste that in. Okay, cool. So we got our version tag. We're going to build and push the server image. We need to change the link though. So right now we're doing links.stephenfreeborn.com, and what we need to do is, so we're going to do %s, and we're going to search for links.stephenfreeborn.com, and we're going to replace that with grounds for support.stephenfreeborn.com, and we're going to do that globally in this file. Substitute it 5 times. We're also going to change the ports. So inside the container is going to be running on 8080, but externally we're going to have it run on 4343. Or I guess this is the host, right? This is the host, and then this is the container, I think. If I remember right. Docker port mapping order. I think host is on the left, containers on the right. Yep. So I think with that in place, we should be good. We just need to add our secrets to the repo, and we should have everything we need to make this happen. So let's do that off screen. Yeah, I'm gonna do this all off screen, but all I'm doing off screen is I'm just adding my secrets. So let's do settings. Or no. Oh, I don't have a repo created for this though, do I? That's okay. Okay, well then we'll do that after we do our initial push to GitHub. Okay, so what else? So what do we need to do on the server? The server needs some configuration for Nginx, and we need to set things up in Cloudflare. So let's do the configuration for the web server. So let's cd into the home directory, and let's generate a new SSH key. Do SSH keygen, and we're going to put this in grounds for support _GitHub actions. And then we are going to cat the public key. actually going to cat C, the public key. Then we are going to SSH into our server. And then we need to edit the authorized keys. Then.ssh, authorized keys. And we're going to paste that in. Okay, and then now that we have that, now we can actually do the Nginx config. So we'll do, we'll cd into Etsy, Nginx sites available. And we are going to make a new config here. So we'll say touch. Isn't it funny? We all have the university programs that we tell how smart people are using a single IQ test. Well, humans, we like simplicity. We like labels and we like single numbers that we can point to and be like a total description. Like humans just crave that simplicity of like, tell me a single number and give me a single label and I can make sense of the world that way better than have nuanced understanding of things. Unique UX, start with Rust. Oh my gosh, that sounds horrible. Could you imagine trying to point someone who's brand new to programming and say, hey, go learn Rust, that's where you should start? I mean, I'm sure there's people that do that, but that sounds absolutely horrible. Shudo, you're down at such a low level, I don't even know what's ELF file. I recommend learning some physical CE. I'm guessing CE is computer engineering fundamentals, and then an abstracted path from transistor to ELF file being loaded and put into exe context by the OS. Yeah, that's like you're down there at the very primitives. I do not make your, I do not pass the, I do not pass the test. I'm catching up on chat a little bit here. ELFs are very important in embedded and also in Lamponia. They work with Santa. I don't know what that is, and maybe I should, but and I'm happy to be educated. I just don't know what it is. I'm never afraid to be the guy in the room that's like, I don't fucking know what you just said. Please explain it to me. A lot of people are afraid to be that guy. A lot of people are afraid to say they don't know. They don't want to look incompetent, and I don't know, man. I just don't care. I'd much rather learn and figure it out and be educated than pretend I know and just stay dumb. You know? Let's see, let's cat links. We will copy this as our starting point. And we'll enter insert mode. Paste that in there, and then we need to clean this up because none of this is valid. So delete this. And the server name, we're not going to care about the www root. I don't really care. I know some people have very strong opinions about that being supported, but I don't. this needs to listen on 80, I think is what I say there, right? Nginx listen on port 80. Yeah, just the listen directive, I think, is all I need. Okay. And then this is going to proxy down to 4343 on the host. That's where we expect to find our container. Crap, I didn't open this with sudo. Gosh dang it. I really want to exit Vim. I really mean it. So exclamation point. Sudo vim. There we go. Okay. So we'll do that. And then we need to symbolically link this to sites enabled. So we'll go to sites enabled and we'll do, what is it? Sudo ln-s. And I can never remember what the order of operations is, or I can never remember what the order of the arguments are. If it's the target and then the source, or the source and then the target. Sudo order. So it's target and then the name of the link. So the target we want to link to is in Etsy, Nginx, sites available. So that's our target. And then the link name here is just going to be the same, which is grounds for support.stephenfreeborn.com, like that. And then I think we can do sudo nginx-t. So everyone's happy. And then we'll do sudo nginx-s reload, I think is the... Yeah. Okay, so then what we need to do is on Cloudflare, we actually need to make an entry that points that domain to the machine that this is actually running on. So I'm going to go into my Cloudflare panel and do that. But we can also, we get to check a checkbox. So let's come back to Fizzy. And let's check that off. And we can also, I can only, that's kind of interesting. I didn't notice that. So Fizzy actually, when you add a step, it like connotes that there's a dependency here, I think. Why can't I check that final box off? Oh, because I hadn't hit enter. Okay, never mind. I thought there was like a dependency between the tasks, but there's not. So I can check off this one. I just need to set up Cloudflare. Also, this is a tool that's 37 Signals just released. It's called Fizzy. It's kind of a take on a Kanban board. It's pretty fun. I've been trying to give it a test drive using some of my own projects. Titano, what do you use for hosting? Cloudflare for DNS and server hosting. So I use Cloudflare primarily just for DNS management. Is primarily the only thing I use it for right now. It's just so that I have the ability to have it proxied through Cloudflare. I think that's if you're going to host something or host your own things, while Cloudflare has had its issues the last couple weeks, I'm not going to say my blog. Since I have self-hosted my blog has never been down until I put it behind Cloudflare. And when I put it behind Cloudflare, like the next week, we had downtime, which kind of sucked. But the thing that Cloudflare gives you is well worth the dependency you take, because they give you protection against the big one when you're self-hosting something, or even if you're hosting it in the cloud. The big thing they give you is they give you DDoS protection. That's the thing that will kill you. If you have something hosted in the cloud and you don't have DDoS protection, you run the liability of running up a really fucking big bill, right? So Cloudflare gives you the ability to enable that protection on your domains. They also give you control to block AI if you don't want the LLM scraping your stuff, which is nice, I think. And then you get a lot of stuff in the box, and it's relatively free. Their free tier is very, very generous. So I use Cloudflare for the DNS, and then I use VPSs for hosting. So I have a couple VPSs here in my home network, and then I have a VPS in Oracle's cloud, and that's what I deploy to. And then for whenever I deploy, I usually just deploy everything as a container on Docker. So everything lives in a container and it's on a VPS. Unique UX. I saw the CEO of Fizzy on LinkedIn. Was curious. Yeah, both the CEO. I like DHH. I know a lot of people have very strong feelings about DHH. I like DHH, but I also really like the other co-founder of 37 Signals, which is Jason Fried. I think he might have some of the best takes on like software design, both from like an aesthetic, but also from like a usability standpoint that I've heard. He just has a very, it's not the same as everybody else's take on design, which I really appreciate. So I appreciate them. I appreciate the company they built. So I try to use the products that they make. Shudo, do you ever like to play with the WAF on Cloudflare? I've been wanting to write some of my invisible challenges like what CF has. I haven't really had a need to do much with the WAF on Cloudflare. Like I said, I primarily use Cloudflare just for DNS management and to allow me to proxy traffic through it in the case that somebody wanted to do malicious stuff to one of the sites that I've made publicly available. That's the primary reason. Cloudflare has some of the greatest mathematicians and longest standing and most attacked network with the largest surface area being attacked, and they go down due to some Rust bug, I think. Yeah. And then they went down, they also went down because the React server component exploit, the arbitrary code execution exploit that got reported last week, they tried to implement some sort of mitigation where if your site was hosted or if your site was proxying traffic through Cloudflare, I think they were going to do something to the body of the request to try to detect this exploit. And then when they pushed that mitigation, something about how they implemented that mitigation brought the site down, which is kind of shitty. So it's like they were trying to make up for the exploit that was in the RSC implementation, and then as a side effect of that, they took downtime for it, which really sucks. It wasn't even really their bug they were trying to address. They were just trying to help the community, and then they ended up causing pain for the developer community. Thunderdeer, yeah, that's the way to do it. The cloud compute is nice, but it's so expensive even for small projects. It's better to get a VPS. Exactly. I don't have enough traffic to any of this shit I make publicly available to justify the cloud bills, and I'm also very, very scared of running up a huge cloud bill that I have to pay. So that's why I don't host things in AWS or really on Azure, just because I have a fear of waking up one day and having an invoice in my inbox for several $1,000s. There's a nice company called Hetzner that has great value VPSs or even dedicated huge servers for fairly cheap. So yeah, so I've got an account on Hetzner. I have that all set up. You actually have to go through quite a process to get set up with a Hetzner account. You actually have to provide like a valid ID. I had to take pictures of my driver's license and submit them. That must be, I don't know, there must be some laws or something, maybe EU related laws or something. But I do have a Hetzner account. I just don't have anything running over there. I try to minimize any expense that I pay for hosting things. So like the only cost I really have for hosting at the moment is my domains. I pay for the domains, and basically everything else is really no cost to me. And that's primarily because everything I build and deploy, none of it's a business. None of it makes money. So it doesn't really make good financial sense to spend a lot of money on a hobby that doesn't make you any money. Which I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but you know, some people spend lots of money on hobbies that just do nothing but lose the money. Okay, so we'll do. Okay, so we made our DNS entry, which is a subdomain, so it's really just one A record. That's all I have. When I say set up subdomain in Cloudflare, all I mean is I added an A record that points to the IP of the server that the container is going to run on, and that Nginx is configured to handle requests for. That's all that means. So we set up the domain, we configured Nginx, we have our deploy and our workflow. Obviously, our thing isn't deployed there yet, so we don't have anything. So let's try to do that. So we'll do, let's exit this guy. We'll go back home here. And let's go back to our project. So let's go ahead and, what does my README say? I'm gonna copy this guy. And we'll do git init. And we'll get status. I think that all looks right. I think the only thing, yeah, I just need to set up the secrets, right? That's the last thing I need to do. Set up Docker Hub repo for images, and then add workflow secrets to GitHub repo. Oh, I probably also need to create the GitHub repo, which we haven't done yet. Is it really 7:10 already? Holy shit. Okay, that went quick. Yeah, this is all we have left. So this is all we have left to do is we need to do set up the Docker Hub, create the GitHub repo, add our workflow secrets, and then what we should be able to run the deploy workflow and push a container to that server and just see our V app running, right? This is basically all we're going to deploy to begin with. So if I do Docker run test and we go to localhost 777. This is all we're going to deploy to the server to begin with. And then what we'll do is we'll start adding features, and we'll just open a PR, we'll implement our feature, we'll merge the PR, and it will all just deploy. And we won't have to worry about setting any of that up later down the road. So that's the end state. All right, unfortunately, we have come to the end of my digital life, my streamer life, and I have to return to the actual world, which involves going to work. Let's see. Oh, my nephew's, hold on one sec, guys. My nephew's on the phone. I'll be right back, and then we'll wrap up. All right, sorry about that. I mean, if your 2-year-old nephew calls and asks to see you, you gotta go. You gotta go talk to him. All right, so what have we done today? Today we've solved Advent of Code Day 5, Part 2. That was a success. Yay. We're still on pace to finish by the 24th. We worked on the grounds for support site for a little bit, and I called out a win. And we had some good chat, right? We drank some good coffee, had some good chat. Yeah, W nephew. Yeah, he's a cute. I just had my brother, my nephew is my brother's kid. I just had a niece yesterday, so they just had their second kid yesterday, which is pretty wild to have. My little brother has 2 kids now. All right, so we got 34 people here at the end of the stream, which is W. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for so long. I would love to hang out for the rest of the morning and just keep coding all day with y'all, but unfortunately I have to go I have to go work, you know. And thank you, Nikias. That's very kind, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always good when there's a new baby in the family, you know. There's really nothing better, there's no bigger blessing than the family getting bigger and having a little baby. It's just it's like I wrote a post on Blue Sky yesterday. It kind of inspired me, having a new baby in the family. I'll just show you what I wrote. What did I say? I said, I had a niece born today. Despite what the AI texting says right now, life is full of hope and opportunity for a brighter future. Our children are literal manifestations of that. So I think maybe you don't have kids yet, maybe you don't have a family yet, but sometimes the world can feel very gloomy and very doomy, and it can feel very much like there is no hope. But the fact is there is, and as long as we continue to procreate, there will be parents who are trying very hard to make things better and livable for their children in the future. It's just a positive reminder to not let the tech bros get you down. Family is everything. Tell them your fans are sending best wishes their way. No, that's very kind. I will definitely pass that along. Brian, thanks. Learning about lists and loops now. Nice, dude. You're killing it, Brian. You're on the warpath. I love it. That's awesome. All right. Well, okay, 35 people. Let's wrap up. So if you're new here and you want to interact with me or chat outside of stream, the best place to find us is our Discord, and I'll drop that link in the chat. There's no pressure to join, but if you'd like to talk to us outside of stream, that's the best place to find us. If you're new here and you're kind of thinking about, like, I kind of like this guy and I kind of like the folks in this chat and I'd like to come back and hang out again, my schedule is I'm typically live starting about 4:15 a.m. Central Standard Time each morning, and I typically will stream till about 7 a.m. because I have to get off and get ready for work and all that stuff. But on the weekends, I might go a little bit later. So if you see me live, please stop in, say hi. I'd love to hear from you, even if that's all it is. It's just a hello. It's always nice to see familiar faces around the YouTubes. As far as content, like plans for the stream and whatnot, we're going to keep doing Advent of Code. That's the primary goal till the end of December. But aside from Advent of Code, we'll be working on this website. So this website's purely just a website for me to try to learn about integrating payments into an application. So if you're interested in Stripe or payment integrations, this might be an interesting project. If you'd like to follow along, the code will be on GitHub. So I'll definitely share that once I get it pushed up. And other than that, I just wish you guys a very happy and wonderful Wednesday. And if it's already Thursday for you, I hope the same for your Thursday. And maybe if I don't see you in tomorrow's stream, I'll see you in the comments of a short or a video. I'd love to hear from you there as well. All right, guys. See you, Brian, on the water. Good luck, man. Wishing you all the best with your Python learnings. Thunder Deer, see you later, man. Shudo, have a good day. Unique UX, appreciate you as always, man. Hope you're doing well. Who else? Anybody else still here? Thunder Deer, I love all your takes, man. Would love to have you come back. Well, I guess this is actually like your second or third stream, isn't it? So you're a regular basically at this point. All right, see you guys. Bye, y'all. Bye, Busy Slim. Bye, Thunder Deer. Bye, Shudo. All right, guys. Bye, chat. See you, Stefan. Hope you feel better, man. I'm really sorry about your sickness, buddy. I hope you feel better and get back to wrestling real soon. All right, bye, guys. Bye, chat. Bye. See you guys.